Hi, welcome to the John Powell podcast. I'm John. This show is about real world mental fitness, the ability to stay clear, steady, and constructive when life gets uncomfortable. Each episode, I sit down with insightful guests to unpack the tools, stories, and lessons to help build that strength. If this resonates, hit subscribe or share it with someone who'd benefit. With that, I'm really excited today. Today's guest is Anton Harrison-Kern. He's a coach, a multifaceted entrepreneur, an accomplished exponent of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, practitioner and teacher. But underneath that, he's someone who's deeply committed to growing all the businesses he's involved with, the people around him, society as a whole. We're talking identity, ego, discipline, what getting choked out on the mat can teach you about life, and maybe an alcohol-free lifestyle, amongst other things. Anton, how are you, good sir? It's been a minute.
Oh, John, what an introduction. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here. I love what you're up to. I'm really excited to go down whatever rabbit holes we go down today. But yeah, I'm fighting fit, man, and I'm ready for whatever today throws at me, including this show.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For the benefit of the audience, perhaps give us a brief about yourself and your background, what you've been doing.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm a father of 2 children, although I've recently remarried. My new partner of 6 years, she has 3 children. She's from Russia. So she's brought over 3 more amazing human beings, plus herself from Russia. So we've got this amazing blended family going on. 52 years old. I went into business at 19 out of sheer resistance to go down the academic education path. I thought I could teach my parents a lesson and show them you didn't need a formal qualification to succeed in life. And boy, that's been a journey. I'm not sure if it worked out in my favor or not, but here I am. I'm still going, still powering along, and I love my life. There's no doubt about that. I have about 34 active revenue streams at the moment. I did set goals to hit 100 concurrent revenue streams, but I tapped out around 34 because I thought, what am I doing? Who am I trying to prove this to? And it was getting harder and harder, and I was starting to take some of the joy out of my days. So I'm really happy right now. It may go up, it may go down, but I'm definitely a serial entrepreneur. I love family. I love life. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Hopefully get my black belt around June this year. So for a 52-year-old guy, I'm in a huge growth curve. I'm the fittest I've been, I think. Maybe not the strongest, but definitely the fittest and the healthiest. I've been sober since I was 42 years old. I'm 52, so that's coming up to 10 years now. And that's been an incredible journey. And yeah, here I am with you today.
Mate, congratulations on running all those businesses and that 10 years in sobriety. I certainly want to talk about that. I think it's an important conversation to have. All right, so you've scaled a bunch of businesses then, 35, and it sounds like it's give or take. For many of us, scaling and building one business, you have that moment where you put your head in your hands and you go, what the heck have I done? What? And you have that almost breakdown moment. So how have you navigated through those cycles over the years to run multiple businesses? What's the special sauce?
Well, one of the businesses that I have is a full-time dedicated virtual assistant team and a software development team in the Philippines and then India. So they are they're doing a lot of the grunt work for me. Essentially, I can create revenue streams. I try to make them relate to one another. I can create revenue streams. They may sink, they may swim, they may be as big a hit, or I may need to adjust them, but they will do all of the admin, invoicing, debt collection, a lot of their research sometimes, or AI has taken a lot of that. But yeah, they'll do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I will nowadays focus more on the strategic and the marketing. Like I've really found that the marketing is something which so I can kind of rapidly do this. By the way, I've developed, like, my skill set is rapidly building a business and working out if it will sink or swim. And I don't invest much money to start something new. I always do the very bare minimum just to see if there's a market. Like my view is, if I can write something on the back of a napkin and I can go down the street and I can sell that to somebody, then I've got a winning idea. But if I can't sell it, I just put an axe through it and I move on.
So essentially, it sounds like you've had situations where you've leaned in, you started the business, perhaps you've thought you had good strategy or a good plan, and then as you've got into the cycle, you've realized you're better to cut and run than you are to even stay in it.
Absolutely. Cutting and running is very important. Although I am attached, like I do kind of hoard everything relates, everything has its purpose, and it's not necessarily to make money. That's another thing which I've really discovered. Some of the businesses that I have really add amazing, like being a jiu-jitsu coach, for example, makes me no money at all. It's one of the greatest privileges and passions of my life. I teach 3 days a week. I impact hundreds of lives, thousands of lives a year, people I don't know. It's great for my social media. It's great for my own personal health. It's a revenue stream. I do charge for it, but it's not it's the lowest money maker on my list and my greatest passion on my list. So it absolutely is one of the best businesses I have, but nothing to do with money.
Is that perhaps a habit that you've lent into that's given you disproportionate return, and through other facets of your life, being in that BJJ world?
Oh yeah. A lot of the deals, some of the big deals come out of that community. The people in there have an inherent trust towards me because I've been doing it for 16 years. I'm very dedicated to it. I'm a clean living, you know, straight shooting, intelligent, I think, guy who tries to have everyone's best interests at heart. So that's a good kind of resume for doing business with somebody, right? Like if you meet somebody who's doing this sort of stuff and they're not greedy, you kind of want to do business with them. So it is a marketing exercise. You could say it's a marketing exercise as well to be doing as much jiu-jitsu as I do, but I don't look at it that way. But I'm sure it pays off many, many other ways than money in the bank.
Terrific. I know when I went down a self-defense road, I did Krav Maga regularly for a couple of years. When I say regular, I was training 3 times a week, plus doing some ad hoc Muay Thai as well.
Nice.
A lot of apprehension at the start when you turn up. You know, I was fearful, I was apprehensive, and even moving through the journey, there were aspects of my emotional regulation, good and bad, I'm going to say, that I had to go on that journey and come out the other side. What would you say to somebody who's looking to make a start? And it could be for personal growth, could be for fitness, could be just to learn a multifaceted self-defense, mate. If you could talk to one of those people, what would you say to them to give them that pep to get them into that studio or into that?
Yeah, I can remember in the start of my journey, I would drive my car. I was in the Gold Coast in Queensland. I would drive my car. I'd sit outside the gym and I would be petrified to go in every class. I'm talking for the first year. Every class I'd be petrified to go in. Maybe because I didn't really know what I was doing. Maybe because there were some really tough people in there and I was a bit intimidated. A bunch of reasons. I was also drinking quite a lot at the time. So I think my self-confidence was lower. I just remember this pure, like this conversation in the car. Should I go in? Should I not go in? I don't have to go in. Well, I went yesterday or I went 2 days ago. Maybe I could just go for a drive and go sit at the beach or something. I'll do something else. And eventually, like I just kept forcing myself to go in. And the beautiful thing about this journey is that eventually you become someone completely unrecognizable to your past self. Like I am nothing like that guy at all. There's shreds of me, the good parts, hopefully, but there's none of that guy sitting there. Like even like through this podcast, right? Like podcasts can be intimidating and scary, but I'm like in a jiu-jitsu match. I'm like, let's go. Come on. I'm excited for this. Let's lean in. Let's go for it. I've learned that leaning into things through this journey, if you do something enough, it can generate excitement rather than fear. And that's a real privileged life as far as I'm concerned. More valuable than money.
Excellent. I know when I went down the road of Krav Maga and some Muay Thai, I got in there and look, I feel like pretty quick you learn a lot of skills that have a lot of utility, right? So, you know, you can learn about distance, you can learn about closing the distance, you can learn about striking, defending, situational awareness, and you pick those up somewhat quick. And so at the time, with a whole fucking stack of hubris, I thought I had a bunch of tools and I could just, you know, I'm driving a V8 motorcar here, right? I'm a 90 kilogram fit lean guy and I've got these basic skills. Now that was bad. And I'll tell you why that was bad, because running alongside that also had residual social anxiety. And this was to do with some childhood trauma, right? This was to do with some childhood pain. It was, you know, through being bullied at school and all that. And so I found myself in social situations, and this is all on me.
Sure.
If someone had said something or I didn't like their energy or the way they were going about it, I started getting a bit of an edge to me, right? Because it's like I'm driving the V8 motor car.
I've
I'm
got the
putting in
skills.
3 or 4 classes a week, and you're not.
Hmm.
Well, that's not really the way to carry oneself forward in life if you want to, as Napoleon Hill would say, win friends and influence people, right? In a good way. So, and at the time was also drinking more than I should have been, really, particularly in those situations. So, and I've since given up alcohol, and we can talk through that later. I got to a place where I realized that was me, that was my darkness that I had to reconcile. I had to sit there and think about it. What's causing this pain? Why am I feeling this way towards this person? What am I trying to prove here? And then, painfully had to sit with that. And once I worked through that in a positive way, I was much better at Krav Maga. As in, I was present, better to be around. I think I was failing the what am I like to be around test in a lot of environments here.
Well,
Have you, as a teacher, you would have seen people across various aspects of their martial arts journey or their self-defense journey in BJJ. Are there any stories that come to mind?
well, yeah, there's mine and then there's my students, definitely. I think the first thing I want to say is good on you for discovering that. That is one of the beautiful privileges of martial arts, is that it will draw out parts of us that may not have been discovered or, be lying underneath the surface. You managed to bring yours out, look at it and say, that's not really who I want to be. I'm going to do something about that. And then through the martial art and, through your other life skills, you manage to transform that, right? And I think people do come into my classes with some sort of trauma. I don't think many people get off scot-free. We've all got trauma, My
Yeah.
trauma led me to lack confidence. So while I was learning all of these skills and I had these V8 skills, I was never enough. You're like, your version is I'm too much. You can't handle me. And my version is I'm not enough. I'll never be good enough for my coach. My coach isn't impressed by me. The other students are just going to kick my ass. If I get in a fight, well, I never want to get in a fight. I don't fight anyway. I've never been in a fight. I've been beaten up, but I've never been in a street fight. But my trauma led me to I'm not enough. And so I think there's these two kind of main classifications of students that I see showing up all the time. I much rather it's much easier, I think, to bring confidence out in a student than to try to calm them down. The lacking confidence student tends to want to take my advice. The overconfident student thinks they've got it all handled and they know better. And because I'm older and some of them can beat me as well. Don't forget, like, even if they're a lower belt, some lower students can actually beat me. Jiu-jitsu is not a magic bullet. Like, it's not make believe. And the situations get proven over and over and over again on the mat every single day. So unlike other martial arts where, it might be the first to land a good punch or something like that. No, we're taking each other from zero to submission. And in that journey, if they're stronger than me, heavier than me, younger than me, all of these things add up to me losing. So it's very humbling, right? Which didn't help my self-confidence because I got humbled a lot. We all get humbled a lot in jiu-jitsu all the time.
Been there a lot too in that modality I was in, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Oh, there you go. Okay, good. So yeah, so this journey will humble you. But also, yeah, coming back, I think two main structures of student. I think both of them are needed in the world. These two structures are needed in martial arts, and they're just a mirror of what's happening out there in the rest of the world. But martial arts kind of makes you fail faster. Hopefully, it makes you fail faster, and then you can get on with living. Like, I'm a much more confident person now, and you're a much more humble person now, let's say. Okay. So your martial arts journey humbled you. Mine built my confidence. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I agree with that, everybody's journey is different. And there are those students that come in, they're quite timid, they're quite shy. And then there are those students that come in, perhaps as I did at the start, just like really overcompensating. By the way, my coach was having none of it, right?
Fair enough.
That was just me. That was just me in my head.
Actually, if I can interject on that,
Yeah.
while I want to have none of it, it's very hard to stop these people, but they can severely injure people, especially our white belts. They come in, some of them are very strong as well, and they can do lifelong damage with our martial art because it's joint hyperextension and, things can get broken or permanently dislocated in ways that they'll never quite heal the same, etc. So It's very serious in our world. But having said that, it takes us months, just like getting my kids to clean the dishes. It takes months of nagging to get someone to slow down and do it the way it's meant to be done. You know, they're so busy trying to be quick and fast and aggressive because they watch MMA or whatever. But the reality of it is that, yeah, it takes a long time, but it is part of their transformation. So sorry to interject that, but I'm having none of it as well. It's just, it's not, I can't just enforce them though. I don't want to fight fire with fire and hurt them. That won't help either. You know,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Look, there are strengths to having that aspect to you, and nothing's completely good or completely bad. It's about being able to channel it in the right way. And there's two parts of this. Everybody should learn a multifaceted self-defense. They should spend a period of time, whether it be a year or 2 years or a time frame, and learn a multifaceted self-defense. It changes you in a plethora of ways. You do train with people bigger than you, smaller than you, more experienced than you, technically more proficient than you, so on and so on. And that has a good way of leveling it out. Look, I think there's a positiveness to this, even when I was going through that transformation. And that is that if you're a person that is showing up and doing something consistent and growing a skill set, even if your approach needs to be tweaked and adjusted mentally, that in itself is something nobody can take away from you. It's still inherently worthwhile and positive.
100%. And also, I'd say that these skills totally interrelate to my business prowess, and my business prowess totally interrelates to my jiu-jitsu prowess, you know, and all of the faults that come along with them. But it is a great thing. Like, I'm much better at selling to people in jiu-jitsu, selling a concept, selling an idea, because that's what I do in business, you know. And in business, I'm much better at my cardio is strong in business. Let's put it that way, you know. My ability to see that things can change in an instant and I can still win this, you know, even when it looks like I'm going to lose. That's with me as well. Like, I carry everything across all areas. We all do. So to think things happen in a vacuum is misguided, I think.
No learning's done in a silo, that's for sure.
Mm.
Everything has an interrelatedness about it. Okay, so you've built loads of businesses. What are the traits and characteristics of people within a team to build a business, or individuals that can grow a business? Because I know for me, I started a service-based business, and it's a commercially viable business, but at the end of the day, I'm getting lagged with all the admin, with doing quotes, with follow-ups, as well as getting on the tools. And I have to look at that and go, geez, it's either I really scale this up or I look for a complete restructure.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good thought. It's a good discussion. For me, I'm addicted to the process of business. I don't care what the business is, to be honest with you, as long as it's ethical and nobody gets hurt. I actually like my businesses to be simple. Then I can delegate any part of the business. If I'm the magic ingredient, I don't love that anymore. I used to love that. Nowadays, I love a business that I could get my kids involved in. It's a great way to bond with them. One of my life hacks I share, I don't know, people might find it offensive, but I find my kids want to hang out with me if I pay them $30 an hour. You know, they really do. And they will be great with me. They will talk to me as much as I want to talk to them. They'll stop spending time with their boyfriend for a moment, or their girlfriend, or they're doing whatever they're doing, and they'll come hang out with their old man. So like, all my businesses, I set up with the idea that my kids could come and work in it with no skills whatsoever. And then any of their friends, anyone else. So that is my ethos these days. I've tried to simplify things down to something that where there's a strong demand and anyone can do it, and I can make good money doing it. Like, that's pretty much where I am now. And with that in mind, then I can pick and choose what to delegate. Right now, my eyesight is starting to fail me. And I had a good run with that, you know, up to 50, there was, you know, I never needed glasses. Nowadays I wear glasses to read, and I'm good with that, but it means I don't want to spend as much time on my computer. So the things that I used to spend, I used to build a lot of spreadsheets and do all that. I still enjoy it, but I don't want to spend that much time. So I'm delegating a lot more of that area and leaning into what I love, creating things with my hands, running around. I like being in the car, making phone calls. You know, I'm just doing whatever I enjoy right now. Building systems where I can deliver items on motorbikes, and building a network of motorbike riders who can deliver coffee and things like that for our coffee business. So it's really a matter of listening to what you want right now, because I've been through so many stages in business that since I was 19, so many different versions of myself. Like there was a version who just wanted to be able to do business hungover. That's a version of Anton that existed for a while. Like my businesses would be structured around, what if I can't get up in the morning, and I have a hangover, what will happen? And I would structure things around that. Now that there's no need for that, I get up at like 4 a.m. every day. I'm pumped. So, I take advantage of that time. But yeah, these are the various stages. So, I think with your question, but well, yeah, people and skills. So yeah, surround yourself with people who want to do the stuff that you don't want to do for sure, but also don't get ripped off in that process. Look offshore, look onshore. Don't subscribe to the fact that everything has to be super expensive right now these days. Just be creative and wheel and deal.
Excellent. I love that. That's a good hack, by the way, getting your kids to work within your business, your coffee business, because there's a stat, I saw it somewhere, that you spend 90% of the time you're ever going to spend with your kids by the time they grow up. So after that, it gets a lot less, although they're staying at home longer. So if you can find a way to hang out with them, mate, power to you. That's awesome. I am going to do that with Gabby. Hope she doesn't see this, because then she'll try and do it.
She'll know you stole the idea. Actually, I started an Airbnb recently. It's going very well, but some of my kids have really latched onto it, helping improve it, helping clean it, reset it, decorating it. It's very good for the creative juices between my daughter and my stepdaughter and my niece and I. They're all the girls. They've really gravitated towards the Airbnb. The boys have gravitated towards the coffee business. It's interesting. I didn't force that. That's just how it happened. But yeah, the Airbnb is a beautiful thing, because every day at midday they come and they reset rooms and we hang out and we talk and we drink coconut water, and it's good.
Fantastic. I like that. I'm going to find a way to work with my daughter. She's 10 now, Gabby.
Get us started. Get us started, bro.
Just talking to your future self there, kiddo. Mate, so you're 52, I'm 53. What would you say to your 20 or 30-year-old self?
That's a great question. I'd just say chill out, man. Just chill. Because I think a lot of the things that I did were beating myself up. I really actually think a lot of the partying, alcohol, the damage to, like I broke a lot of hearts and had my heart broken a lot of times just going through relationships that didn't work. I was just on a mission, and I think a lot of it might have been unnecessary. If I could my grandfather used to say to me as a child, I could still remember his voice, just Anton, just slow down. But I don't do that. I still don't do that to this day. But yeah, I really would just say, just chill out, man. I could just be 2 simple words, just chill out.
I would definitely say that to my 20 or 30-year-old self. The other thing I would say is be consistent. So be consistent to the point where people know what you're about, what you stand for. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops, but
yeah,
your actions every day reinforce what you stand for, which is
absolutely
a pretty good segue into our next conversation. So
well,
you've been up to all three.
Before you do that, though, one of my favorite sayings is that we often overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And that really resonates with me with what you're just saying right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So now that you're further down the road from a timeline point of view, and hopefully you've got another 30, 35, 40 years or more. But if we live to the average Australian male, where we've both got like the last, say, a third of our lives left, is there any pain that you've metabolized into purpose that you would like to, move with for the next chapter of your life?
Pain that I've metabolized with purpose. Yes. Yeah, I think all of us feel like we don't belong. I don't think any of us get through life going, I really belong. Whether, like, I watch high-level jiu-jitsu competitors who just feel like you can tell they're doing this to fill a hole. They're going out there with such intensive purpose that only, well, actually, at the moment, I feel like my current thesis about life is that we are all fully delusional. And yet we need to communicate our delusion in order to move to our next delusion. That's how I feel. I'm not saying it's the truth, but I feel like we're all fully delusional and we must communicate this. If we don't communicate it, we stay stuck in that delusion. So we communicate our delusions, and then we get unlocked from that delusion and we get released into a new delusion to live in for a while, right? So I think as far as my purpose, you could call it my delusion, but my delusion is that the more people I can be of service to in this world, in this life, the more people I can expose to healthy living, healthy life, confidence, the ability to love and be loved, the happier I will be. That's my delusion. Okay. And I am communicating that. I do shout it from the rooftops pretty hard, unfortunately. I could probably, that's probably locked up with another delusion that I need to market myself repeatedly and persistently. But yeah, I would say that my purpose at the moment is to be of service, to as many people as possible. And yeah, I can't see a time in the future where that won't be the case, but it may change. Like, let's say that I get really sick. I'll have a new purpose. Or someone in my family gets really sick. I'll have a new purpose. Or the world goes to World War III. I'll have a new purpose. I can't see the future, but for now, that's my purpose.
So succinctly put. Oh my gosh, I love that. I really do. So there's a couple of things with that I'm picking up. One is, and I'm going through this journey now, mate, right? And that is, I've started a podcast. I've got no resources. I've got no business plan. It's not being monetized at this particular point in time. It's just something I want to do for the world. Now, that is 100% delusional. There is nothing non-delusional about that.
Yeah.
And I've written down a one sentence that I keep coming back to be delusional every day. And that is to lift people in society through conversational communication. And that's why I'm doing the podcast. But
Fucking amazing, bro. I love this. What a beautiful delusion. What a beautiful delusion.
Running alongside that could well be my childhood trauma where I had chronic stuttering. And those things can coexist.
Absolutely they can. Absolutely they can. And one can be triggered by the other, Okay, I stutter, so now I end up running a podcast where I can never stutter. And that's like how I'm going to show the world that I no longer stutter. But the reality is you'll still be stuttering in other ways. Like I will.
We're all stuttering through life. That's for sure.
Oh, my Lord. Absolutely.
We're all stuttering through life. All right. And let's talk about an alcohol-free lifestyle for a bit. I don't want to come across as an evangelist. You've been sober for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sober as in I stopped drinking. I was in the gray area drinking category for a long time. And then one day I went, fuck it. I'm done with alcohol. And that was it.
Yeah.
I had a sip of, as it was actually my partner was sitting on a balcony up on the Sunshine Coast, a very good setting. I had a sip of her ginger beer, just a sip. And I went, something was screaming in my head. It was screaming. It's like, dude, if you drink this, you're going to go back to the same sort of toing and froing, or you can put the glass down. It was that in my head. And then I just put it down and that was it.
Wow.
Now, everyone has their own journey. I'm going to say there is never been a better time in history to rethink your relationship with alcohol. I've had zero pushback. Like I've had no pushback. No person has pushed back on me not drinking, not one.
Yep. Wow.
And I think that's indicative of the society we now live in. People are rethinking their choices around this part of their lifestyle. And look, the second part of that is I do live in Australia's most multicultural local government area. And that's good because a lot of my friends, for whatever reason, cultural reasons, religious reasons, when we're hanging out with them, they just don't drink and that's just the normal.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that as a result of you giving up drinking, you actually became much more aware of the multiculturalism as well. I've ended up teaching jiu-jitsu at pretty much a Muslim gym, so there's very few people drinking at the gym that I'm at. I'm not religious, I'm atheist, but I really do love the fact that I'm now exposed to these cultures. And I would have actually thought these guys were a bit weird for not drinking back in my drinking days. So, I'd be like, wow, they're missing out. I would have said shit like that to myself at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity. It is the right time. Even in Russia, which is where my wife is from, and she's there right now, there's a trend towards non-drinking. In one of the heaviest drinking cultures in the world, there is a trend towards non-drinking. So the world is finally realizing that this is marketing, this is business, and humans love a good, they can't resist a bargain. And alcohol is kind of prescribed as a bargain way to get through life.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a lot of things to a lot of people, but definitely that coping piece is there. Although, look, the science around grog is pretty bad, bro. Like
Oh,
if you
yeah.
read the most recent science, if you delve into the science, if you look at that science on its face value and it's science, peer-reviewed science, you would go, yeah, nah, maybe I better
Yeah,
not. But anyway,
absolutely.
that aside, look, I found for me not drinking at this point in my life in my 50s, it's like driving with the handbrake off. And, what it does for recovery, mental clarity, for your sleep, for
Sex
your emotional
drive,
regulate, for your
everything.
emotional regulation, if that was a pill, right, and it improved your emotional regulation, your health, your your skin, your recovery, your protein synthesis, right? That shit would be flying off the shelves,
It
right?
would
That
be.
would be the biggest, most widely sold supplement there is, and that's what
Man,
non-alcohol is doing at the moment.
I love that, man. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to start saying that to people. If not drinking was a pill you could buy for your drinking, it would be flying off the shelves, man. I fucking love that. Thank you for sharing that. I agree, man. What I always tell people is that if life is a garden and there are weeds growing in the garden and you pull up those weeds, but you don't put pretty flowers in there, the weeds will just grow back. And that's how I explain giving up drinking to people. Like, it's really important. If you pull that weed called alcohol out of your garden, you must plant something better there, because life is going to use you 100%. You're going to be 100% used, whether that's sitting on the couch getting wasted, or it's going out there and doing jiu-jitsu, or it's running a gazillion businesses, or it's just being a great parent, or whatever your body will allow you to do. Life's going to use you 100%. So if you pull that weed out, you damn sure better be ready to put something else in there.
Yeah, true. Put something else in there. I decided quite delusionally to make a podcast.
I love that. You're really taking that and running with that one, bro. That's awesome.
And the reason is it's putting something else back in there, hopefully to be a net content creator instead of a net content consumer. That is to say, that boredom related to making that lifestyle change, scrolling, watching stuff, doing stuff that is just filling time.
I agree, man. We actually started a jiu-jitsu podcast about 250 episodes ago. I stepped aside because it just got too busy with other things, but it never had a big following. I'm not saying yours will or won't, but it never had a big following. But now when I search important names in jiu-jitsu, we've often interviewed them, and there are these great people, and it's an archive of really positive people wanting to make the jiu-jitsu community a better place and sharing their lives in their bedrooms or wherever they're doing the podcast from with us. And it changed my life interviewing all of these people as well. They contributed to me, we contributed to them. And now that cannot be taken away. That's on the internet forever. Like, good content on the internet needs to be there to counter all the bad content on the internet.
Excellent. I love that. Okay, so let's go with this question then. Let's go with this question perhaps to close out. So what does steady mean at this stage of your life? Now, you've talked about business and doing stuff with your kids and finding ways to be positive to society and hang out with your kids. What does steady mean at this stage of your life?
Steady. Okay, so my greatest, and I mean this, I've said this in the past and not meant it, but with this amazing wife that I have, we are we want to live forever. Make no mistake. If we can live forever, we want to live forever. But we also know that we may have limited time on the planet, and we may have maybe one of us will be without the other one. So what we want to do is stockpile as many amazing memories and money and opportunities as we can as a couple, and then push that down through the rest of our family as we get older. And so steady means one foot in front of the other at a pace that will not break us and will just make things flourish around us. That's what steady means. It's not a specific stride or speed. It's always forwards, but not in a way that takes away from something else too much.
I love that answer. It's acknowledging that your time is finite and that every day matters. And it also plays into what you were saying before, that you underestimate what you can do in 10 years and overestimate what you can do in a day. And at least now, with the stage of life that you're at, you have the presence to realize that you can get a lot done in this next chapter, however long that goes for.
Absolutely.
Anton Harrison-Kern, thank you so much, mate, for being on the show. I hope we get the opportunity to chat again. and cover some more breadth and depth of topics.
Johnny Powell, thank you so much. Like, seriously, I consider you a good friend and an inspiring mentor and someone who's out there to make the world a better place. So thank you for inviting me on the show. I'll always come back. If you invite me, give me a topic, throw me a topic, and together we will rock that topic. I'm sure of that.
There it is, everyone. You heard it first. Anton Harrison-Kern, regular recurring guest on the podcast. That's it for today. If you got something from this, share it and tag at the John Powell Podcast. I truly appreciate the support. With that, stay steady, stay constructive, and if you can, make someone else's day a little better. And I'll see you in the next episode.